Tonight's celebration really would not be possible without a handful of very dedicated volunteers. I'd like to thank Angela Chestnut, Jenny DeVries, Mary McKenna, Aaliyah Nance, Coda Nance, and Tony Rustamano. I would also like to give a big thank you to our UCSC College Democrat Club members who helped us as well. I was going to name them. So thank you to Sarah, Mal, Riley, Sky, Cameron, Eve, Alex, and Ania. Now I have the honor of introducing a friend of ours who really needs no introduction, but he gets one anyway. So I'd like to introduce Senator John Laird. Senator Laird was re-elected to the state Senate in November of 2024, carrying all 4 counties in the district, which encompass Santa Cruz, San Benito, and Monterey counties, as well as the majority of San Luis Obispo County. That's some weird geography right there. In the state Senate, Laird chairs and serves on 10 committees. During his first term in the Senate, Laird had 59 bills signed into law relating to environmental protections, sea level rise, increased access to health care, educational opportunities, sustainable agriculture, and electoral reform. For sure. He is a former State Secretary for Natural Resources, State Assembly member, Cabrillo College trustee, and Santa Cruz mayor and city council member. He was one of the first openly gay mayors in the United States. He also served as a founding board member and later executive director of the Santa Cruz AIDS Project. He has been a lifelong resident of Santa Cruz with his spouse, John Flores. He has traveled extensively, is fluent in Spanish, enjoys conducting family history research, and is a lifelong Chicago Cubs fan. Please join me in welcoming Senator Laird.
Thank you. I was nervous when she started talking about trailblazing queens. It's my pleasure to welcome you here tonight, and it's been to play off of what Jenny just said. I've been saying, "How are you?" to everybody here, and they generally say, "Oh, I'm okay, but the world is screwed." And so I think that the real message is that everybody is coming alive. Everybody is starting to speak out. Everybody is starting to act. That days of the first days after the inauguration has passed. And so what we really have here is the Santa Cruz Democratic Support Group that is really ready and able to take action. And as I said when I spoke to the Martin Luther King Day event, I quoted Hunter Thompson about when the going gets tough, the weird turn pro. And that is us. It is time to do that. And so that is a perfect context for introducing all the elected officials here tonight. Because in Washington, they're doing God's work, those in this room. As school board members are fighting things off, people at cities are fighting ICE raids and trying to figure out how to keep the budget going. Our state representatives are trying to fund lawsuits and speak out and push back. And everybody that I'm about to introduce is taking some sort of action that we all need to emulate and follow in what's going on right now. But first, who was not on my list, is that every member of the Democratic Central Committee is elected. And so if I could recognize every member of the Democratic Central Committee that's here in the room, would you stand up or acknowledge yourself in whatever way? Thank you. And fresh from a series of really strange votes, here is our Congressman, Jimmy Panetta. Jimmy, where are you? Yes. And we also have with us someone who is a former state controller, who's a candidate for governor, who's a vice chair of the state Democratic Party, Betty Yee. Betty, I know you're right back there. And in 2022, we broke the barrier in Santa Cruz County. For the first time, we elected a woman to the state legislature to represent this area, and we just didn't do one, we did two. So one is our former county clerk, Gail Pellerin. Gail? And also breaking the barrier is Assembly Member Dawn Addis. Dawn? And we have someone that has joined David Letterman in growing a really long beard in retirement, former Assembly Member Mark Stone. Mark? And we were going to be joined tonight by Speaker Robert Rivas, a hometown boy who represented us well, and he got called away in the inevitable business of being Speaker of the State Assembly, but Dom Dursa is here representing him. Dom? And we have Dr. Farah Sabah, who's taken the lead on immigration and other issues as County Superintendent of Schools. We have our not quite so new county sheriff who is really adhering to the law in the right way right now, Chris Clark. Chris, welcome. We have our district attorney, Jeff Rozelle. Jeff. We're trying to make sure that the Brown Act violation of the Board of Supervisors does not talk to each other tonight about an issue. And we have Justin Cummings, who is the 3rd District Supervisor. He also happens to be chair of the board of the State Coastal Commission, which has endeared him to Elon Musk lately. So we are grateful. We are grateful for that service. From Watsonville, we have Supervisor Felipe Hernandez. Felipe? And we're going to hear from her in a minute. We have a groundbreaking supervisor just sworn in January, the first open LGBT member of the Board of Supervisors, Monica Martinez. Monica? And we have the mayor of the city of Watsonville, Maria Orozco. Maria? And we have a former supervisor, former assembly member, former treasurer. You know what the next part of that phrase is. And the current mayor of the city of Santa Cruz, Fred Keeley. Fred? We also have a Brown Act violation of the Cabrillo College Board of Trustees here tonight. So we have Adam Spickler from the Cabrillo. We have Donna Zeal, who is here from the Cabrillo Board. We have Ken Wagman from the... We have Manuel Bersamin. Manuel? We have Rachel Williams from the County Board of Education. Wherever Rachel is. We actually have a former member of Congress who's really happy he's not serving right now, Ted Celeste, who served from Ohio. Ted, I know you're here somewhere. And last but not least, we have Ramon Gomez from the North Monterey County Fire Board. Ramon? And if I started to introduce all the former elected officials, it would take us right up to the drag show. So actually, if you're a former mayor, city council member, supervisor, school board member, or legislator, identify yourself. All right, there we are. Everyone is happy to not be serving right now. So it is my pleasure to introduce the next person who will then introduce an award, and I just introduced her as the new county supervisor, but let me just say a few things about her, because in case you don't know, she was one of her very first actions at the Board of Supervisors was a resolution ensuring that swift action could be taken in the event that the county services to LGBTQ and female community members would need to be cut as a result of changing federal policy. So she stepped out there right away on that. She worked on dealing in a social services capacity on Skid Row in Los Angeles. She served as executive director of Housing Matters. She was executive director of Encompass. And she has just, whether it's been COVID, whether it's been the unhoused, whether it's been services to people that have been drug addicted or incarcerated, whether it is having services related to HIV. She has just taken the lead in this county over a long period of time and agreed to step down to the role of county supervisor after doing all that. And she co-parents 2 children, Bella and Aureus. And so please welcome to the podium, Monica Martinez.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Senator Laird. Good evening, everybody. How you doing? Well, it's truly an honor and a privilege to be here today. I want to start by saying thank you to each and every one of you, because diverse candidates with some sort of diverse background don't just get elected, okay? It takes the courage of an entire community to step up, to open their doors, and to advocate for inclusive voices. And that's what every single one of you did to support me as a candidate for county supervisor. And I just want to give you a round of applause for all of your hard work, because this is about all of us. And, probably the biggest question that I've been getting over the last month and a half is, so, how's the new job? How's it going? And I just want to answer that to all of you in a really honest way. It is an incredible privilege to serve. It is an incredible honor to be able to use my voice and the values that I care about, the values that we all share, and bring them to tables where my voice has never been before. And so I'm honestly, I'm still pinching myself when I step on the 5th floor of the county building. I still can't believe that I am privileged enough to be there to advocate for all of you and to bring forward the important work that has to happen. So again, thank you so much for this opportunity. And I'm taking this really seriously. I mean, you've heard a little bit about my resume. I'm the kind of person who I work hard, I get a lot of things done, and
every single meeting I'm in, I see it as an opportunity to shift the dialogue, an opportunity to bring forward new ideas, an opportunity to include new voices, and an opportunity to get things done. So thank you, Senator Laird, for sharing the action that my fellow colleagues on the board voted for to support our LGBTQ+ and those who identify as women if and when we become under attack from the federal government. Then I also want to thank my colleagues on the board that just on Tuesday, we put our money where our mouth is, and we set aside $200,000, $100,000 for the immigrant communities and $100,000 for the LGBTQ+ communities from our county's contingency funds. Like the funds we set aside in case it rains and our bridge goes out, right? We set aside those dollars and we're dedicating them immediately to support those who are vulnerable. So thank you to my colleagues on the board. And we're getting things done, and I look forward to representing all of you. It can feel really overwhelming with the rhetoric, and the really painful attacks that are coming toward targeting, our community, us. And I just really try to stay focused on what I can do. Each day, when I get out of bed and I show up as a county supervisor, what can I do to advance our values? What can I do to support our community? And so I want to ask you to do the same thing. Every single day, every single moment, what can you do to build community, to keep it local, to protect those who are under attack, and to support our democratic values? So please, please do that. Now, it's my honor to introduce somebody who does that every single day. Somebody who I've admired since the moment I met them. So, I've had the privilege of witnessing Dr. Jen Hastings' transformative work in building a more inclusive Santa Cruz County. And I've seen firsthand how Jen has become a true leader in community health. Jen's dedication to increasing medical access and understanding for transgender and gender-expansive people is truly remarkable, and Jen's advocacy has touched countless lives, both locally and nationally. Dr. Jen Hastings is a volunteer clinical professor at UCSF Family and Community Medicine and has been a trailblazer in transgender healthcare, founding the transgender healthcare program at Planned Parenthood Mar Monte in 2005. As a national consultant and educator, Jen works tirelessly to expand access to healthcare with a focus on transgender health, reproductive health, and the integration of behavioral health. In Santa Cruz, Jen's a physician consultant with SafeRx and the Health Improvement Partnership, contributing to critical work around opioid safety, Hep C, trauma-informed care, and mindfulness in medicine. In the aftermath of the Supreme Court's Dobbs decision, Dr. Jen Hastings took action by joining a new abortion clinic in Wichita, Kansas, where Jen traveled monthly to provide medication abortion services to people from banned states, particularly Texas. Additionally, Jen provides this essential care via telehealth, extending access to those in need. Jen also volunteers with the Miscarriage and Abortion Hotline, offering support to individuals seeking self-managed abortion, primarily from banned states. Dr. Jen Hastings' work is not just a testament to the values of inclusivity and equity, but also to the deep commitment to protecting and advancing reproductive rights at a time when they are under threat. Jen is an embodiment of the leadership, compassion, and resilience that make our community stronger. It is truly an honor and a privilege to invite Jen up to accept the award of Democrat of the Year.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Monica. It's a real honor, which I accept on the behalf of my LGBTQ community. For me, this work feels like through me. It's not me, it's through me. So I really almost didn't want to accept the award, but I was encouraged to do so. But my community makes this world a better place. It's not me, it's all of us together. Our caring for each other, our love for each other, stepping up when we need to. We need each other more than ever now. This moment in time is terrifying. Each day is terrifying. As you all know, no doubt, the executive orders that have just come essentially aim to erase trans people. It's not going to be easy, and it's not going to happen. But the threat of the loss of federal funding has made university health centers and other healthcare entities stop providing care already, the day after that executive order. Stop providing care to trans youth. That is not acceptable. And we're seeing consequences in California. LA Children's, which is the main provider for youth in Los Angeles, stopped providing trans care to youth. We think California is so brave, right? Well, when push comes to shove, LA Children said no. And thanks to the very strong statements from our Attorneys General, Rob Bonta, I believe they have been told they have to reverse course. Thank you for the Rob Bonta. The repercussions of these executive orders continue to ripple and are deeply destructive. I'm already hearing about medical providers who are saying they're going to stop providing care because they're afraid for their own livelihood and for their standing in their community. They don't want to be at personal risk. Insurance companies are refusing malpractice coverage for providers. Hormones are not being covered by insurance companies because of these executive orders. Surgeries are being canceled. And we anticipate a lack of access to hormones in the near future. Yesterday, Iowa passed a bill removing gender identity protections from the state's Civil Rights Code. It's the first in the nation, although there were already bans in Iowa, banning trans students from participation in sports and access to public bathrooms. This is not acceptable. No doubt from this event, we'll see a further rise in discrimination. We already have a rise in anxiety, depression, suicide. The assault is cruel, demoralizing, and exhausting. And all of my friends know this firsthand. It is a threat to us personally. We will persist. Trump cannot define us out of existence. I am queer, non-binary, even more clearly, even more fiercely. We will persist. We must pay attention, although we have to titrate it, right? We have to titrate these horrors in order that we can each survive each day. We must nourish our souls, our spirits, remember hope, remember beauty. Spend time in nature, swim in the ocean, feel the wind, walk in the rain, find the snow. Read the words of wise and brave people. Heather Cox Richardson, M. Gesson, Tim Snyder, Aaron Reed, Rebecca Solnit. Remember kindness and resoluteness. Meditations in an emergency. Those are Rebecca Solnit's words. Hope is a discipline. Hope is a discipline. Those are the words of Mariame Kaba, the anti-criminalization organizer. Hope is a practice that we cultivate through intention and focus. Remember connection and joy and be present. Be present with ourselves, with our friends, with our loved ones, and people we don't yet know. With nature. Create and nourish community. We can do this. And I have to add, Democrats in this room, we need to do better. We need to stand up to we need to stand up to threats to our Constitution. We are in a fascist state now. I am appalled that we haven't risen up already in the streets. We will survive and we will thrive. Thank you.
I'm joined by Dawn Addis and Gail Pellerin, and the three of us wish to present you with recognition from the legislature, and there is recognition from the federal legislature. So, Gail, do you want to say something?
Do you want to start with you?
No.
I just want to echo everything Jen said. You just brought tears to my heart, and we just absolutely have to work together and get out there and fight like hell. And I want to present you with this certificate of recognition for everything you're doing, everything you've done, everything you're going to do, and you're just amazing. So thank you so much.
Well, I just walked up and I just gave Jen a huge hug and said thank you. I needed that. I think all of us sitting out there just felt like we need you and we needed that. And on behalf of the State Assembly as well from our district, we just appreciate you. Thank
you. Dr. Hastings, thank you for your inspiring words. Thank you for your important reminders. And thank you for those affirmations. With people like you at the forefront, I'm sure we will get there.
And I don't need to say more, but the state Senate rarely agrees on anything, and so congratulations. And you would all recognize this. This is the Democrat of the Year perpetual trophy. And Leslie wants me to make sure to remind Jen she has to give it back in a year.
I'm not she. I'm just Jen.
Jen, excuse me. They want it back. We want it back in a year.
You will get it.
Perfect. And you can set that down later. Let's hear it one last time for the Democrat of the Year. It's an honor to introduce the next introducer who will present the next award. And I've had a pleasure to know her. She's lived in Santa Cruz since 2017, but I don't think many of you know her, much less what her history is and who is in our midst. If you ask her what are the three things she might immediately line out, she would say she rode the Goodyear blimp once. She was arrested as a reporter in Moscow, and she helped produce the election night coverage for CBS News for over 10 years. So she is a very accomplished person. She was an executive and innovative digital strategist at CBS News, New York, and Sony. Her career spans cutting-edge product delivery and then news coverage. In the current times, she came to Santa Cruz to do her transition. She is a transgendered woman and really, I think, is a gender warrior. She's an improbable one because she described herself as needing 67 years before she realized that. And she and I served together on the Capitol campaign for the Diversity Center when we raised over $1 million to purchase that building and guarantee that that program will go on in perpetuity in Santa Cruz for all LGBT residents and the greater community. And so she is going to, actually, one last thing, she would say that when she moved to Santa Cruz, she left her New York persona behind, but I can tell you not so much. And so it is my pleasure to introduce Steph Jacobs, who will introduce our other honoree.
First of all, to Jen Hastings, you brought tears to my eyes. I'm going to go to bed tonight thinking about your inspirational words, the work that you've done for the transgender community, and how you serve us all as an example, bringing us hope, staying steadfast. Thank you, John, for that overly generous introduction. You know, introducing an introducer is not the best thing, so I'll try and be brief. Tonight, I have the privilege of introducing another one of our honorees, someone who truly embodies the values that we cherish in our democracy. Adam Spickler is the recipient of Pride in Democracy Award. Many of you all... Wait, you'll have lots of opportunity to cheer. Many of you already know Adam for his tireless work on behalf of the Democratic Party, but for those of you who may not know him as intimately, let me introduce you to the kind of person Adam is. There's a word in Yiddish that perfectly describes him. It's mensch. Now, if you should be unfamiliar with that term, a mensch is a person of integrity, of kindness, of honesty, a person who consistently acts with compassion and a willingness to serve. You don't have to be Jewish to be a mensch, although it helps. Former President Jimmy Carter, for example, was a mensch. You don't have to be a woman to be a mensch. Michelle Obama, definitely a mensch. Right here in our community, John Laird, Jen Hastings, Jenni, without a doubt, Ubermenschen. What a great term, Ubermenschen. And then there's Adam. Mensches give back. They practice tikkun olam, another Jewish term that means repairing the world. That is exactly what Adam has dedicated his life to doing. I first met Adam when I was interviewing community leaders for the Santa Cruz Diversity Center's fundraising campaign. At that time, he had already served multiple terms on the board, and he could have dwelled on past accomplishments, but instead he said, the Diversity Center needs to do much more to help its staff serve the community that surrounds us. That's Adam. Adam has served as a senior staffer for John Laird and Bill Monning, is now senior analyst for Santa Cruz County's Human Service Department, where he acts as the agency's public information and government relations officer. He puts a human face on a somewhat bureaucratic governmental job. That's Adam. He's a board member of Housing Santa Cruz, and in 2018 made history when he was elected as a trustee for Cabrillo College, becoming the first openly transgender man elected to any public office in California. And now applause. In 2022, he was reelected by a wide margin and continues to serve it as an active and engaged trustee, working closely with the college's Rainbow Council to foster inclusivity and support. Through it all, he carries his trailblazing status with quiet strength and unwavering dedication. In other words, he's a mensch. Tonight we celebrate both Adam and Jen for their courage, their contributions to the LGBTQ community, and their deep commitment to making the world a better place. But let's be honest. It is incredibly difficult to be a trans person in America today. Sort of sucks, actually. The Republican Party has launched an all-out assault on transgender people, denying children and their parents access to medical care, vilifying transgender servicemen and women, and weaponizing identity as a political tool. God damn them. It is overwhelming. It is shameful. But not for Adam, because alongside his husband, Scotty, Adam has been the steady force organizing, advocating, and marshaling resources to support those in need. In a time of fear and uncertainty, Adam remains a beacon of hope. So it is my profound honor to present the Pride in Democracy Award to my great friend, Adam Spickler. Stand up, everyone.
Is this mic for me? I'm going to try standing back here to just see if the podium's short enough. Can y'all see me over this? Yeah. That's not always the case. And I usually just speak off the cuff, but I actually wrote a few things down, so a podium's helpful. Steph, thank you for that introduction. That's very kind of you. Thank you to the Democratic Central Committee for this award. I appreciate it. I want to embody it every day, and I appreciate that you believe I embody it now. I want to quickly take a moment to thank my friends and family who are here tonight. I have a pack of friends who I love fiercely, who are not particularly politically engaged the way that I am. They're politically engaged in their own way. It is rare for them to come to an event that the Democrats put on. But they came here tonight for me, and I just want to say thank you. And I want to say thank you to my husband, who I think is taking photographs of me, so I'm going to do a little, who's just my rock. And I love that he's asked me not to. After dinner, we don't talk politics anymore because it's just not healthy to go to bed thinking about the state of the world these days. Thank you for that. I love you. I'm going to check my notes real quick. So I've been a long-time LGBTQ plus activist, and I don't want to bore you with all of the details of all of the many things that I've done, but I have since coming out, first as queer and then as trans in this community, I have tried to show up in every way that I can to support people who, like me, want to know that more than just being seen and being honored, that the community I live in and the world I live in has my back. There's a lot that I could talk to you about things I've done since, the early 2000s, but I want to bring your attention to a few things I've done. This past week, I learned that the State Department has opened up a 30-day public comment period about their passport rule change, declaring that to apply for a new, renew an existing, or get a lost passport replaced, you have to turn in those forms stating you are sex assigned at birth, which for trans people, as I believe many of you in the room know, is at best deeply personally troubling and challenging, and at worst potentially life-threatening when you consider all of the ways in which we need to show up in the world and use identification. To have that not match your gender identity and the way that you present yourself in the world can pose incredible risk and harm. So this public comment period has opened, and I learned about it on Sunday, and as of today, the County Democratic Central Committee has approved submitting opposition statements, letters that I wrote for the committee. Those will get sent. And we will be posting template letters that I wrote publicly and issuing an encouraging letter to our entire distribution list to please take a moment and submit a letter to the State Department opposing the rules change for these 3 forms. The Cabrillo College Governing Board has placed it on their agenda, which is coming up on Monday. And I know I'm not supposed to say things in advance of the Thursday before the Tuesday, but I believe this will be on the Board of Supervisors' agenda May 11th. Please show up and voice your support in opposition, if that makes sense to all of you. It's kind of like when we were opposed to or supporting the opposition of the anti-gay marriage stuff. It's very backwards. It's confusing. Just so that you're aware, as soon as things get bad, what I need to do is get busy. Another thing that I've done that I just want to make sure folks are aware of, when I learned of a few trans women who are veterans being denied benefits pretty immediately after the inauguration, I got together with Jen Hastings and with Cheryl from the Diversity Center, and we very quickly organized a meeting of healthcare leaders throughout Santa Cruz County and have held one of what we hope will be a forum of meetings where we are talking about commitment to gender-affirming care, commitment to trans and LGBTQ healthcare in general, an understanding of how we may need to develop a parallel and underground way of treating folks so that trans care can continue in light of all of the bans and the upsets and the stoppages that we expect to see because of the federal government. Those are all very important things, and they have to happen. And frankly, I don't have time to sit around and just be sad. I have to make stuff get done. So that's what I do. I've been doing things like this for a very long time. Thank you. And I think because I've been doing things like this for a long time, there was an effort to maybe perhaps nominate me as Democrat of the Year, which I am glad I didn't get. I am so glad it went to Jen Hastings. And the reason I couldn't was one that makes perfect sense to me. Elected officials, it's in our bylaws. We don't get to be Dem of the Year. And when Leslie told me about that, I jokingly said, there could be like a Lifetime Achievement Award. To which he said, no. You're not done yet. And that was back in September, when we could laugh about me not being done yet. And then the election happened. And I mean, not done yet is such an understatement now. A lot has happened since the election, and I'm not going to dwell just simply on all of the ways that trans rights are being torn down, but I want to share with you what helps my spirits at times like this, the avalanche of fascism that is heading our way, and how the least of which the Trump administration is singling out disenfranchised, marginalized people, and particularly trans people, But in the face of that, just in this past week, a U.S. district judge issued a preliminary injunction against Trump's order to transfer trans female inmates to men's prisons, so that's been stopped. Another federal judge has issued a temporary restraining order blocking Trump's ban on gender-affirming care for trans youth, and several state attorneys general have sued the Trump administration over this gender-affirming care ban. The ACLU is challenging Trump's new passport policies, requiring trans people to list their sex assigned at birth, and the governor of Maine is taking Trump to court over efforts to ban trans people's participation in sports. And there's more going on, and there are more advocacy groups and more leaders taking stances. A lot of it is going to happen through the courts. The courts move slowly, so we are in this for the long haul. It's a fight that I want all of you to know how important it is that you stay attuned to and that you participate in. And to underscore that, I'll try to be brief. I can't tell you what it is like to be at the center of target of the federal administration. To be told that who you are shouldn't exist, that who you are by your very nature is dishonest, disintegrous, untrustworthy. It has been difficult to breathe at times. And it's not something that I'm used to feeling, and I feel it every day now. When I don't have to live in that kind of world, when I don't have to feel that way, I show up in the world and I do so much. In my day job at the county, in my volunteer work outside of that, with family and friends. I need you with me, fighting for me, so that I can get to keep showing up for you. Does that resonate? That's how we do. So I want to try to wrap up with one quote that I've been saying a lot these last several weeks. It's by a writer and podcast host, Dan Savage, who reminds us, during the darkest days of the AIDS crisis, we buried our friends in the morning, we protested in the afternoons, and we danced all night. The dance kept us in the fight because it was the dance that we were fighting for. It didn't look like we were going to win, but then we did. It doesn't look like we're going to win now, but we could. Keep fighting, keep dancing. Thank you.
Adam, that was great, and it's always thrilling when you see a former staffer succeed, and you're not done yet. So, and I get to give Adam this, but Leslie instructed me to say you don't have to give it back after a year. So this is for you. Thank you, and congratulations. Let's just go down that road.
Adam, it is often said that those that deserve a monument don't need it. And I think that you are a person that clearly embodies that. You're a person, even during your acceptance speech here, you could not help but call us all to action. You could not help us to put a fire in our hearts and hope as well. And you are a role model to me. You've been there from the very beginning. You've been inclusive. You've been welcoming. You've been, help us all be part of this wonderful community. and you give me great hope, and I'd like to present you this award. Although you may not need it, you deserve it.
Well, I just want to say you're also my mentor. And thank you. And you give us all a lot to rise to the challenge and to be here in unity and allyship and to work a little bit harder every day. We were talking at our table, and I just want to say this to all of you because I think we're all feeling it, and Senator Laird mentioned it, that it is time for us to get active. It is time for us to be out in the streets. It is time for us to do more every day, and thank you for your call to action to do that.
Adam. I have had the privilege of seeing you evolve over the years, decades, into the amazing, badass trans man you are. And I remember just the honor of issuing the paper or doing the paperwork for your passport to correctly identify your gender. And it just irritates me to no end that they're trying to undo that, and I will be fighting like hell to make sure that does not happen. And also, did I do your marriage license? I think I might have. Yeah. So Scotty and Adam, and just again the privilege of being able. And I registered him to vote. Oh my God! I mean, I am the luckiest person here because I got to see you and work with you over the years. You are an inspiration. Your and Scotty's love is an inspiration for all of us. And I join my colleague, Assemblymember Addis, and I will dance with you. I have your back. I will fight with you, and we will be on the streets, Jen Hastings, and we are going to make sure our voices are heard because we are not taking this shit anymore.
It's a tribute to how worked up Gail was that she walked away with the award. I also have one for the Senate, and it's just, Adam gave us all a challenge, and the way this award's going to be meaningful is if we meet the challenge. And so that is the important thing. I should also say that one of the sweet ironies of this is I would guess when Adam and I worked together, he presented about 100 of these on my behalf. And so it's just too juicy that you get one back. So congratulations. And let's do a picture. Steph, get in here.
Let's do a great photo.
You're doing the next part, and I'll set this over here.
Thank you so much. And now I have a job to do. I have to introduce our next speaker, which is, again, on my phone. So last spring, Rob Darrow, who is the chair of Santa Cruz Pride, asked me if I would participate on the, I feel like it was almost a year and a half ago, on the 2025 process for the 50th anniversary of Santa Cruz Pride. I, of course, said yes. A, because you never say no to Rob, and B, how could you not say yes to something that fabulous? So with that hat on, just like days after last year's Democrat of the Year dinner, I said to Leslie, do you think it would be possible if the 2025 Democrat Gala was in honor of, are you telling me no, I didn't do that? I thought that's exactly what I said. Well, my recollection is that wouldn't it be great if it was in honor of Santa Cruz Pride? Is that? I think Leslie needs to correct the record. See, I'm fierce, but I'm also fair.
I have no voice. What Adam said to me one day on the phone simply was, I don't know if it matters, but next year is the 50th anniversary of Pride. That's a direct quote. To which I responded, what do you mean you don't know if it matters? I'm on it.
Okay, so that was the conversation. You get the point. And I mention that because, well, that set off the process. We very quickly took that to the Democratic Central Committee. The vote was unanimous. We were going to make sure that this event was to honor the 50th anniversary of Santa Cruz Pride. And it is my honor in that regard to bring up the chair, Rob Darrow. Rob is a lifelong Californian who works to ensure that LGBTQ plus history is taught in every K-12 classroom in California. He works as Director of Research and Professional Learning with the Safe Schools Project. Love that. The Safe Schools Project of Santa Cruz County, and is the LGBTQ plus support consultant with the Santa Cruz County Office of Education. Smart move, Ferris. I lost my place. Oh, and he has worked in all levels of education from preschool to doctorate level professor, as an online school principal, university professor, school librarian, and teacher. He was born and raised in Santa Cruz County, and most importantly, volunteers his time as chair of Santa Cruz Pride. Thank you, Bob.
Adam. So I want you to all know that you are part of Santa Cruz Pride. We would not have 50 years without all of you in this room for everything that you've all done over the past 50 years. Santa Cruz Pride, the board, recently adopted a new slogan for our 50th anniversary, and I'd like you to repeat it after me. The slogan is, no going back. Repeat it, please. No going back. After the first Santa Cruz Pride events took place in 1975, there was no going back. When the Santa Cruz City Council and the Board of Supervisors passed non-discrimination laws based on gender identity and sexual orientation in the 70s and the 80s, there was no going back. In 2008, and then again in 2015, same-sex marriage was legalized in California and the United States and enshrined in California law in 2024, and there is no going back. In 2023, when California mandated gender-affirming health care as part of health plans, there is no going back. In 2022, California became a sanctuary state for transgender young people, and in 2024, the Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisors declared the county as a sanctuary for transgender, genderqueer, non-binary, gender fluid, and intersex people, and there is no going back. Honey Mahogany is our speaker tonight. Like many of us, Honey is a native Californian growing up in San Francisco. In 2013, she was part of RuPaul's Drag Race and released several songs and albums. In 2018, she became the first transgender person to serve on the San Francisco Democratic County Central Committee. In 2024, she became the first director of the San Francisco Transgender Initiatives. She has been a trailblazer in so many ways, and for sure with her leadership, there is no going back. Please join me in welcoming Honey Mahogany.
So I use that one or this one? This one works better. Okay. Thank you so much. It is truly an honor to be here. First, I just want to thank Leslie Steiner and Rob Darrow for inviting me to speak tonight. Let's hear it one more time for both of those folks. Thank you so much to the Santa Cruz Dems for having me. I also want to do a special thank you to Philip and Chris and my partner Marion for joining me and supporting me tonight. And I also want to take a moment to thank Senator Laird and all the members of the California State Legislature who are here today fighting for us because they stand in between us and the Trump administration. We already heard about some of the legislation that happened in 2022 and 2023. Currently, I know that there are several bills that are being looked at and hopefully passed and worked on to protect the trans community. And I just want to say thank you. This work is so important, certainly in blue Santa Cruz, certainly in blue San Francisco, but also for all the other parts of California that are red, where so many of our community members are directly under attack, whether it be by their school boards, whether it be by their city councils and mayors. You are the ones who are really protecting those folks, so thank you once again. My name is Mahogany. I do want to correct for the record that I was not the first trans person to serve on the San Francisco Democratic County Central Committee. That honor goes to Gabriel Holland, a trans man who served before me. However, I was the first trans person to serve as chair of the Democratic Party, any county central committee in the country. And believe it or not, the first black person to serve as chair in San Francisco. So, as Chair Emerita of the San Francisco Democratic Party and now the Director of the Office of Transgender Initiatives for the City and County of San Francisco, I've had the privilege to represent a city that has produced many of our party's greatest leaders. Leaders like Harvey Milk, our very own Governor Newsom, and of course, some of the incredible women who have led our nation, Senator Dianne Feinstein, Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi, and former Vice President Kamala Harris. Yes, I am a proud San Francisco Democrat, a proud Californian, and in so many ways, I'm a Republican's worst nightmare. After all, I am the child of refugees, immigrants who specifically came to this country fleeing a dictatorship in pursuit of freedom. I'm also black. I'm also trans. And on occasion, I'm even a drag queen. But perhaps the thing that may scare them the most is that I know my history. You see, I know that trans people and transgenderism are not a modern invention. Since the dawn of time, trans people have existed. How do we know this? Well, because the oldest writings ever found, dating all the way back to 23rd century BCE, attest to it. The Sumerian priestess Enheduanna, the oldest known author in history, writes about the goddess Inanna and her ability to turn a man into a woman and a woman into a man. Other texts from the time also refer to people who are raised as a gender that doesn't align with their sex assigned at birth. Indeed, throughout history, different cultures have had varying standards around gender, from differing gender roles and expectations to the number of genders they acknowledge. One can easily look to the Hijras of India, the Fa'afafine, Fakaleti, and Mahu of Polynesian cultures, and the Two-Spirit people of indigenous communities across the Americas to see that trans people exist in every corner of this earth. Unfortunately, trans people have historically also been the first targets of authoritarianism. This is what happened during World War II. At that time, trans people were actually gaining acceptance in German society. Yes, trans people existed in 1930s Germany, and they were even allowed to socially transition and had legal documents acknowledging their status. But we all know that Hitler loved a scapegoat. And he used trans people as a convenient target to test out his genocidal tactics. In fact, the first and largest of the Nazi book burnings took place at the clinic of Dr. Magnus Hirschfeld, a gay Jewish doctor who ran a clinic for queer and trans people. The Nazis destroyed decades of research, which included some of the oldest documented studies of gender-affirming care, collections of queer and trans history, and more. Of course, Hitler's attacks didn't stop with trans people. It didn't stop with immigrants. It didn't stop with Jews or the Romani or the socialists or the communists. What happened in Germany led to the most brutal, far-reaching war in human history, with millions of lives lost, the scars of which we still carry with us today. But despite all this, history tells us that queer and trans people continued to exist despite Hitler's best efforts. And not only have we continued to exist, but we've been at the forefront of every movement. Have you heard of Jane Addams, Sophie Breckinridge, and Anna Howard Shaw? Queer women who in 1911 led the largest feminist organization in the country. Or how about the suffragette Annie, also known as Dan Tinker, who led suffrage demonstrations on horseback in New York City? I'm sure you've heard of Bayard Rustin, the black gay man who organized the March on Washington, at which Martin Luther King so beautifully said, "I have a dream." But how about Sir Lady Java, who took the LAPD to court for violating her right to work as a black transgender performer in Los Angeles? Certainly you've heard of Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera. Yes? Well, decades ago, Shirley Chisholm said, "At present, our country needs women's idealism and determination, perhaps more in politics than anywhere else." Her words still ring true. We do need women's leadership more than we've ever needed it before. We also need queer and trans leadership, our resilience, our creativity, our doggedness, and our joy. We need immigrants. Without whom our entire societal and economic structure would collapse. We need working class people who know what it means to work hard all your life and still struggle to make ends meet. We need labor unions, frontline workers, teachers, and nurses who sacrifice every day to help people. The attacks on immigrants, on women, on trans people are now shifting to attacks on Medicaid and Social Security and FEMA, demonstrating what we have known all along, that all these battles are our joint battles. We must not let them isolate us or turn us against one another as we fight for liberation. This is a fight that can only be won through solidarity. Let me be clear. Reproductive rights are a trans issue. Immigrants' rights are a trans issue. Climate change is a trans issue. The right to housing is a trans issue. Workers' rights are a trans issue. And trans issues are your issues. We have your back, and we always will. And I hope that you'll have ours. Thank you.